So we will get started for our regularly scheduled council meeting for Tuesday, September 5th, 2023. I'd like to ask everyone to silence your cell phones and then stand for the prayer. God our Father, we are all your servants. We trust in your mercy and love. We trust also in your guidance. Direct the meetings of this council of North College Hill to make good decisions for all the people who live in our city. Give all the members of this council wisdom and insight to know what is best for our city. Help us to be fair and just in all our decisions. Bless us to do the very best we can. With your help and guidance, we pray this in your name. Amen.
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 We'll now start the meeting. Please say the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. I know I say this quite often when I sit in this seat, but please give me grace tonight. I don't normally sit in this seat. I am filling in for Mr. Graver, who was unable to make tonight's meeting. So let's move on to the roll call.
Ms.
Mr.
Dukestein.
Sorry.
Present.
Mr. Wall.
Here.
Ms. Underwood.
Here.
Ms. Zorb.
Here.
Ms. Alexander.
Here.
Ms. Blythe.
Here.
Ms. Brunner.
Here.
All right, next, pardon me. Next, we have the agenda.
Madam President,
Ms. Dewald.
I move to accept the agenda.
Madam President,
Ms. Underwood.
I would like to make a motion to amend the agenda before it's accepted.
Ms. Dewald.
Go ahead. I'll rescind my.
Thank you.
Madam President, I would move to amend the agenda such that the executive session is switched with remarks from the audience on the agenda.
I'll second that.
Okay.
I have a motion on the floor from Ms. Underwood and a second from Ms. Dewald to reverse the order of executive session and remarks from the audience. Mr. Hedger, could you please take the roll?
Have to do discussion.
Pardon me, sorry. Discussion. Thank you. You know I forget that every time.
That's all right.
Any discussion?
Yes, what is the reason for the reversal? I don't understand.
I just thought that it would be more appropriate in a different order. There's no nefarious reasoning or anything like that. I just thought that it would, the executive session should be before the remarks from the audience, I think.
Madam President,
Ms. Dewald?
giving it some thought, Ms. Blythe, I think might be onto something because we're going to make the audience wait until after our executive session. Wait a minute. I mean, I see where you're going, Ms. Underwood, because then they have no time to speak, but they're going to have to wait around anyway, so yikes. All right. I'm going to make a motion that we accept the amendment. Did we go through that yet?
We already have a first and
That's right,
second.
'cause I
We're in
second that.
discussion.
Yes.
Yes,
Well, you asked for discussion.
I know.
Doesn't make sense.
Mr. Hedger, please call the roll.
Ms. Dukestein.
Yes.
Mr. Wall.
Yes.
Ms. Underwood.
Yes.
Ms. Zorb.
Yes.
Ms. Alexander.
Yes.
Ms. Blythe.
Abstain.
Ms. Brunner.
Yes.
Motion passed, 6-1 abstention.
Makes sense.
Madam President,
Ms. Underwood?
I move that we accept the agenda as amended.
Madam President,
Ms. Dukestein?
I'll second that.
I have a motion on the floor from Ms. Underwood, a second from Ms. Dukestein to accept the agenda as amended. Mr. Hedrick, could you please call the roll?
Ms. Dukestein,
Yes.
Mr. Wall,
Yes.
Ms. Underwood,
Yes.
Ms. Zorb,
Yes.
Ms. Alexander,
Yes.
Ms. Blythe,
Yes.
Ms. Brunner.
Yes.
Motion passed, 7-0.
Thank you. Council members, in front of you, you have the minutes from the meetings of August the 7th and from August the 22nd.
Madam President,
Ms. Dewell?
do you want us to approve these with their own individual vote, or can we do this in one fell swoop?
I think it would depend on if we have any amendments. If they are
Well,
as they are, then I say we can do it in one fell swoop.
I read them and I didn't see anything that needed to
Ms.
that needed to be
President?
changed.
Ms. Brunner?
Yes, I'd like to amend the motion to amend the council committees, the city councils and development recreation. It says Ms. Dukestein.
Oh,
Which date are you looking at? Sorry.
August 7th.
Okay.
Where it says council committees.
Mm-hmm. I need a second for that motion.
Madam President,
Ms. Underwood?
I'll second that.
We have a motion on the floor to amend the minutes of August the 7th under the council committees from City and Community Development and Recreation, from the reports to change the name from Ms. Dukestein to Ms. Brunner. That motion is made by Ms. Brunner and seconded by Ms. Underwood. Mr. Hedger, could you please call the roll?
Ms. Dukestein,
Yes.
Mr. Wall,
Yes.
Ms. Underwood,
Yes.
Ms. Zorb,
Yes.
Ms. Alexander,
Yes.
Ms. Blythe,
Yes.
Ms. Brunner.
Yes.
Motion passed, 7-0.
So, Ms. Dewell, to
Madam
answer your
President?
question, I will say separately.
Madam President,
Yes, Ms. Dewell.
I move to accept the minutes from Monday, August 7th.
As amended?
I'm sorry?
As amended?
Oh, as amended.
Madam President,
Ms. Underwood?
I'll second that.
Madam President, are we,
Yes.
under Budget and Finance, was that correct to say Mr. Graver reports? Did he report that?
No.
I doubt it.
Madam President, I can make the adjustment to the minutes.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. To reflect Ms. Dukestein.
All right. Good catch. All right, can we, Mr. Hedger, can we call the roll on accepting the 8-7 amended minutes?
Yes. Ms. Dukestein,
Yes.
Mr. Wall,
Yes.
Ms. Underwood,
Yes.
Ms. Zorb,
Yes.
Ms. Alexander,
Yes.
Ms. Blythe,
Yes.
Ms. Brunner.
Yes.
Motion passed, 7-0.
Madam President,
Ms. Dewell?
I move to accept the Tuesday, August 22nd meeting, the special meeting.
Madam President,
Ms. Underwood?
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion? Mr. Hedger, could you please call the roll? Sorry, I guess I should have said what we're doing. See, I forget everything. I have a motion on the floor from Ms. Dewald and a second from Ms. Underwood to accept the minutes from Tuesday, August 22nd. Mr. Hedger, now could you please call the roll?
Ms. Dukestein,
Yes.
Mr. Wallin,
Yes.
Ms. Underwood,
Yes.
Ms. Orr,
Yes.
Ms. Alexander, Ms.
Yes.
Blythe,
Yes.
Ms. Brunner.
Yes.
Motion passed 7-0.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is communications. Mr. Hedger, do we have any communications?
Yes, Madam President. I would like to inform council that my wife and I are expecting our first child, as some of you may know, this October. So I probably will not be here for the October meetings and possibly maybe the first November meeting. I still will prepare agendas in the packet for council and send that out to Mr. Graver or whoever the president of the meeting is so that that can be printed and provided to you. Thank you. That's it.
Madam President,
Mr. Hedger, I'd like to say congratulations and make sure you sleep when the baby sleeps. That's my hint. Yes, Ms. Dewald.
if it's easier, if you send them to me, I can run up here and make copies. I live the closest and I don't work.
Sure. I
Unless
can
I'm
send to you.
babysitting that day, but congratulations. I'm
Thank
so
you.
happy for you.
Madam President,
Yes, Ms. Ducey.
congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, next up on the agenda, we have our state representative, Cindy Abrams. Welcome.
Thank you for having me, Madam President, Mayor, members of council. And I will also say congratulations on your upcoming birth of your baby. And yes, that's pretty good advice, Madam President, sleep when the baby sleeps. There's a whole bunch, I'm sure, more advice from this group, but we won't, I don't think we're here to discuss that tonight. I'm Cindy Abrams. I'm your state representative. I serve District 29, which starts basically here, Colerain Township, North College Hill, and Mount Healthy, and goes all the way to the Indiana border and then down to the Ohio River, Cleves, and North Bend. So essentially, you know, the western portion of Hamilton County. Thank you for having me here. And what I typically do, we are here on summer break, and I'm using air quotes because it's really not a break. I like to call it a homestand for those baseball fans here in the room. We're working from home in district, so that's what enables me to be here on a Tuesday. Typically on Tuesdays when we're in session in committee, I'm chairing the Criminal Justice Committee at 3 o'clock on Tuesdays, so unable to be here and in Columbus at the same time. I haven't quite figured out how to be in two places at the same time, so anyway. Here, like I said, on summer break, and so I'm going to give you just an update on what we've been working on the first 6 months of the year. As you know, in every odd year, we work on the state's operating budget, transportation budget, and then capital budget next year. So we finished up the operating budget, which is what I'd like to talk about today. In the transportation budget, it's just that, everything related to our roads and transportation. Obviously, you've heard on multiple places, hopefully, not just on the news, but the Brent Spence Bridge is finally going to be upgraded and repaired. So that was an amazing, 20-year, I think, effort.
At least.
At least 20 years, right. So the federal, state, local, both states came together, so that should be underway hopefully soon. So the budget, right? Before I dive into that, I want to make one bill that I worked on last General Assembly, and prior to my time in the General Assembly, other members worked on it for 8 years, and it's the distracted driving law. So really, those of us that are parents, obviously, with, none of us were born. I was not born with a cell phone. Cell phones were not invented when I was learning how to drive. So, but our strong message, I think, as mothers and parents, especially for our young people, to put the phone down when they're driving. Driving is a tremendous responsibility, and I was on the Finance Committee last General Assembly, and the governor put the distracted driving bill in the budget. And we heard heartbreaking testimony from loved ones that came that either lost their loved one in a single car crash because they were on their phone distracted and they either killed themselves, or families of loved ones that killed someone else innocently. Everybody has a right to get to wherever they're driving to safely, whether it's here for your meeting or work or watching your kid's ball game or going to school. So, the strong message in Ohio is just put the phone down and drive the car. That law is in a warning period now, which means law enforcement can pull you over if they see you. I'm using this because my phone's in my purse. If your phone is in your hand and you're looking at it driving down the road, I mean, we've all seen it. It looks like they're under the influence, swerving all over the road. So law enforcement can now pull you over and give you a warning. And then starting October 4th is when they can pull you over, and should they decide that a ticket is in order, they can start writing tickets. I want to be really clear. My intention with this bill is not to punish people, but it's to save lives. So your first offense, you can take a distracted driving class, either online, it's 1 hour, or in person, and you show that to the judge within 90 days, and your fine and your points are waived for that first offense. So again, we're just about changing behavior behind the wheel. So I wanted to make sure I said that so that everyone's aware of that. And it's something that, like I said, I personally worked on last General Assembly, and it was, you wouldn't think it would be an uphill battle, but it was. Anyway, so we got it done. The budget. So there's so many great things in the operating budget. It's 5,000 pages, and I'm not going to go over every single thing because obviously we'd be here all night, and I don't think anyone wants to be here all night. So I'm going to be very quick. My purpose of this meeting here, and thank you for allowing me to take a few minutes of your meeting, is simply to touch bases with all of you, to plug in and let you know that I'm here, accessible. If you don't have my info, I'm happy to grab you a card, and to really see what is concerning you here in North College Hill, and to have that open line of communication. So we cut taxes, which is one big thing that I'm proud of. Obviously, inflation, I mean, all of us are obviously trying to feed our kids and fill gas tanks and whatnot, and it's becoming more and more difficult every day. So we flattened our income tax brackets. If you make under $26,050, you don't pay any income tax, and then there's two brackets now. 2.75% and 3.5%. It's $1 billion in tax relief, and we are eventually working towards a flat tax for Ohio. The CAT tax, our businesses they're very familiar with the commercial activities tax. Beginning in 2024, any business that grosses $3 million or less, and then $6 million or less in 2025 will pay zero CAT tax. So we cut taxes for Ohioans, and then of course our businesses. Public safety, obviously keeping people safe. With my background, I don't know if you're familiar with my background, but I served as a Cincinnati police officer for years, and then of course served on Harrison City Council, so at the State House, and I was a small business owner. I understand where you're coming from. I understand budgets. I understand, we only have so much, obviously, to make ends meet, whether it's at home or here with the taxpayer dollars. So public safety, we invested in grants for QRTs, quick response teams, which obviously our neighbors in Coleraine Township invented the QRT, which is now the model for the nation, which I don't know if you're aware of that, but it's pretty cool that obviously that program to help the devastating opioid crisis that we are still dealing with today, to at least help get folks the help that they need. We secured $250,000 for the Tri-State Peer Support Team. Your law enforcement and your fire department should be familiar with this group. It's one-on-one peer support for our first responders. Sadly, we have the highest divorce rate and suicide rate, and this is just essentially allowing our first responders to confide in their other first responders that they trust, and return them back to the community healthy and back to their families healthy after the devastating things that they see on a daily basis. Mark's Radios, $21 million to reimburse local law enforcement. Right now, I believe it was $10 per Mark's Radio that you were paying in fees, and the state's going to pick up $5 of that fee. So again, cutting your fees in half. Next Gen 911, which is pretty neat. We're fortunate here in Hamilton County. We've already invested a lot here in our comm center. And so again, the Next Gen 911 is pretty neat. It not only can tell law enforcement and fire department where you are, You can text the dispatchers if you can't speak. You're in a situation you can't speak. It can also let law enforcement know what, like if you're in a high-rise building, what floor you're on. Again, these are all things that can save lives when it matters. $80 million reimbursing local law enforcement when they complete their CPT, continuing police training. So the state mandates that law enforcement does 24 hours a year at the least, and those 24 hours are set by OPATA, the Ohio Police Officers Training Academy. And essentially, they deal with 4th, 5th, 6th Amendment law, update, subject control, de-escalation. But there's an additional 16 hours if the department and the command staff chooses. Their officers can take an additional 16 hours depending on what they're interested in. You know, as you know, on your police department, the men and women that serve have different interests. You know, some may be interested in crime scenes, some may be interested in traffic. $3 million, of course, for the Hamilton County Regional Safety Complex. That's where the City of Cincinnati and Hamilton County are going to combine forces. It's going to be at the current Hamilton County shooting range in Colerain Township, and they're going to build a regional safety complex, which is going to allow every jurisdiction in Hamilton County to use that range to requalify and for training. There was someone put an amendment in, and I just want to make sure I say this out loud and clear it up. It was in the Senate. It was not over in the House when it happened, but it would have stripped ODNR of their police powers, essentially. So when I got wind of it, I made sure that I drafted an amendment to take that out immediately, and when it came back to the House, it was. I already mentioned the Brent Spence. Early childhood development. As a parent, obviously, it's important to get kiddos when they're young. You know, of course, we have Fran DeWine and the Imagination Library, which I'm super excited that the state also funds that, which will mail a book to each child. It's free. Parents can sign up 0 to 5, age-appropriate book to their home. So, again, we invested not just in that, but in publicly funded child care for families earning 160% or less of the federal poverty level. Again, so, you know, high quality child care is important so that, you know, people can feel like, okay, my child is safe and I can go to work for the day. Funding for early childhood education, again, more children having access to high quality preschool. That's in the budget, over $61 million in that. Dealing with any behavioral issues while they're in school, again, increasing that new funding because, of course, I think it's important to get to the root cause of the challenging behavior, right? Kids can't learn, obviously, if they're struggling with other things. Fair school funding formula, that the former speaker, Speaker Cupp, worked on that for about a decade. And what that was is in response to how the state funds public education. So we went ahead and funded that $8 billion next year and then $8.2 billion in 2025. Again, that's funding our public schools. Joint vocational schools, I'm a fan. You know, I have 2 boys myself, and I always told them, you know what, you guys have 3 choices, right, when you graduate high school. You can serve in our military, you can figure out what you love, a trade that you love, or you can go ahead and go to your traditional 2 or 4 year college and get a degree. But you're not just going there to figure out what you want to do. You need to have a plan before you go in, because obviously there's quite a bit of debt that you can go in with that. So again, over $433 billion in 25 in the joint vocational school districts, and pouring money into that, because again, college isn't for everyone, and that's okay. There's plenty of careers. Again, my dad was a pipe fitter. I mean, I was the first one to go to college in my family. So at the end of the day, I think we need to focus back on, okay, what does each student want to do? What are they interested in? And put them on that path. We invested over $200 million in high school career tech facilities, again, giving these students the skills that they need here in Ohio. We got rid of the 3rd grade reading guarantee. I know that was a huge sticking point with some of our 3rd grade teachers. What we're trying to do is, of course, we want to make sure that the students are learning, but at the end of the day, again, get to the root of the issue of why someone's not reading, and then help them get to that point where they are actually reading. We expanded Ed Choice. Ed Choice, at the end of the day, the parents ultimately should decide what's best for each child, for each one of their students, the parent or guardian. And so Ed Choice is basically school choice for every child. So you can decide what school you want to go to and take that Ed Choice voucher, and it depends on what you make, how much money you're getting from the state for that. And that goes directly to any qualifying school. That's important too, that not all private schools take the Ed Choice voucher. We also did, let's see here. That is really it with the budget that I have covered. And then there's two other bills that I'd like to talk about that deal with public safety. House Bill 167, which passed the House, I believe unanimously. I sponsored that with Representative Miranda here from Cincinnati, and it deals with new police chief training. So when you get a new police chief, they're mandated from the state to take 40 hours of new police chief training, and typically that's held in Columbus. So we had feedback from our local chiefs and our local municipalities to say, hey, is there any way that you can have it regionally? And I'm a fan of regional training because then, of course, our local governments aren't paying hotel and per diem, and of course, taking a car up to Columbus and back. And who doesn't like to sleep in their own bed, right? I mean, honestly. So that new police chief training can be held regionally. Again, OPATA is going to keep track of RSVPs to make sure there's not just two chiefs in one training, because the training does, one benefit is they network, right? And that's important to network with, chiefs from around the state. But at the end of the day, they're able to have it regionally. In that bill also, our sergeants and above came to me and they said, hey, most times when a citizen asks to speak to a supervisor, it's not the chief, right? The chief's not going to respond to that. It's going to be either a sergeant or above. So in this bill also allowed OPATA to create new supervisor training. So again, it's like a command staff level training that would essentially be free to our first line supervisors. And then House Bill 230 is a bill that I recently introduced. It's called Saving Ohio's Communities Act. And basically what that basically deals with is drug trafficking and human trafficking. As you know, the fentanyl crisis is heartbreaking, and there's not anybody, I don't believe, anywhere in this whole state or nation, quite frankly, that hasn't dealt with someone, a loved one or a neighbor, who's dealt with overdose. And what this does is target the drug traffickers and, again, the fentanyl that's pouring in from China to Mexico over the border, coming to our communities. I recently made a trip to the southern border and in Arizona, and what I saw there was heartbreaking. It was heartbreaking. I mean, the cartels absolutely take criminals from Mexico, and they arm them, dress them in camouflage, and load them up with as much dope as they can carry in a backpack across the southern border. And then they're given cell phones, and sadly, they recruit Americans to come pick these folks up and then transport them. And when they get to their final settling point, I guess you can call it, they have a cell phone loaded already with hundreds of current addicts, and they just call down the list. It's almost like a franchise, like a food franchise, And so I traveled home and I thought, well, what could I do to help at least? Listen, the state of Ohio, we invest heavily in, of course, treating people, the QRT teams, helping people who are already addicted, re-entry programs once people come out of jail or prison. Again, I'm absolutely a fan of giving folks second, third, sometimes, fourth chances to be productive members of society. But at the end of the day, these drug traffickers know damn well that dope has fentanyl in it and could kill someone. So that bill will receive hearings once we get back next month. So that's my update. I'm happy to stand for any questions if you have any.
Madam President,
Ms. Underwood.
thank you. First of all, thank you so much for taking time out of what I'm sure is a very busy schedule to come and give us a personal update. I really appreciate that. If we have an idea about some kind of legislation, how should we contact you or your office about that?
Thank you for your question. Basically, you could either email my office. I can give you a card. It's rep29 at ohiohouse.gov. You can, of course, call my office. We can schedule a meeting if it's something that you'd like to meet face-to-face with, or a phone call, whatever you'd like.
Okay.
And you know what? There's a lot of ideas, quite frankly, that come from the community and how we can help.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
you're welcome.
Pardon me, Ms. Abrams, can you go over that email address again? Did I hear rep29@ohiohouse.gov?
Yes, you'll have to spell out Ohio. Yep. So rep29, so rep29 at ohiohouse.gov.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
Genuinely appreciate this.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, next on our agenda, we have our council committee reports. First up is City Community Development and Recreation.
On August 14th at 6:30, we had a City Community Development and Recreation meeting. We discussed that the Community Household Hazardous Product event will be held on Cleanup Day, September 16th, from 9 to 12 a.m. We will be attending a training class tomorrow via Zoom, September the 6th, from 10 to 3:30 a.m. All volunteers are welcome. We discussed We Thrive. We Thrive is a movement to make Hamilton County a healthier place to live, work, and play. I volunteered to be the council rep from North College Hill. I have a Zoom meeting tomorrow, September 12th at 11 a.m. As I get further information, and I'll report back when I get more information. Our next meeting for City Community Development and Recreation is September 11th at 6:30 p.m.
Ms. Bruner, if a member of council wanted to join that training class on the 16th, or excuse me, I think you said it was tomorrow. The 16th is the cleanup day. I got my dates mixed up.
Yes.
Would we just reach out to you for the link? or-
Tomorrow for this training.
Or is that something we
Gage.
should join, or we shouldn't join, or who is the audience there?
Staff.
Okay, thank you. One less meeting, thanks. All right, next up, we have Budget and Finance.
The last time we met was Monday, August 14th at 7:30 p.m. We went over our 2024 tax budget and our 2024 budget timeline, just to kind of get some idea of what things we'll see from our finance and city administrator, to kind of get ahead of things differently than we have in the past. We talked about the part-time FOP agreement, and we also talked about our quarterly report and mid-year appropriations, and we had new and old business, and we closed out at 8:38 p.m., and our next meeting is on 9/11 at 7:30 p.m.
Thank you, Ms. 16. Next up, we have Rules and Public Policy.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam President. We very briefly discussed the facility use policy. It was on the agenda. We just need to follow up with Ms. Iki. I believe that was something that she and Ms. Clear had been working on, so we're going to follow up with her about that. We talked about the parental ordinance, and we did follow up with Chief Schrand about that to see if they needed to be updated. Briefly discuss council rules and how we just need to have a committee of the whole meeting to update the council rules. And we actually talked a lot about the committees and the committee structure, and our veteran committee member advised us that there used to be 7 committees that was whittled down to 4. So, and we just kind of talked about how we could possibly restructure committee meetings to make better use of our time. So our next meeting will be on September 25th at 6:30 p.m.
Thank you, Ms. Underwood.
We also welcomed a new member, Ms. Broner.
Next up, we have public safety.
Thank you, Madam President. Chief Schrand actually joined us for our meeting, and he just gave us lots of really good information about the police department and the fire department and several grants that they have been awarded for salary reimbursement, training, and other things that they had been working on. He talked about the car shows, and he talked about the impoundment lot and how that's going really well, going even better, doing even better than he expected that it was going to do. Talked about the police cars and what it will take to get new vehicles so that they have the equipment that they need. And he said that, he would be following up with council about that. We talked about the police contract, and Chief Schrand talked about that with us as well. We also talked a lot about traffic calming, and and Chief Schrand told us that near Kroger is probably the biggest area of concern. And what I would like to point out to everyone is if you come down Hamilton Avenue at this point, that College Hill has now eliminated the 4 lanes. It's all 2 lanes coming completely down into North College Hill. If you have not driven down Hamilton Avenue, it's not a bike lane. I've heard some people describe it as a bike lane. It's not a bike lane because the lane is blocked off in certain portions. It's very clearly for parking and not driving. It's very clearly to slow the traffic down. So it's 2 lanes all the way down Hamilton Avenue. And then when you get onto the Mount Healthy side, even past White Castles, it's 2 lanes all the way through Mount Healthy. So, that was something that we really discussed a lot. And I did want to mention that to everyone because the speeding is a huge problem. We talked briefly about gun safety storage laws, and he mentioned that he would like to have positive reinforcement, like to pass out free gun safes and free gun locks, and have, and encourage people to store their weapons safely. So we thought that was a good idea. We'll follow up on that as well. And we adjourned. After that, our next meeting will be on September 25th at 7:30 p.m.
Thank you for a great report. Are there any questions for any of the committee chairs?
Madam President.
I'm sorry.
Yes, Madam President. This may be back a little bit. I resigned from the community meeting.
Community
Yes.
recreation.
Sorry. It's a tongue twister. But I wanted to make sure that we are still talking about the monies that are set aside for what we're going to do for the community. Did you lose that? I'm not accusing you. I'm just asking that you're still keeping that on the agenda. So we need to figure out something to do with those resources.
Are you talking about the rental fees?
Mm-mm. It is the fund of money that we have. We were initially talking about as a group having some kind of grant or first-time home buyers resources. I just want to make sure that that didn't get lost on your radar.
What I'll do, I'll look back through the minutes?
I can actually send you
Send it to me.
what Marjorie sent me,
Mhm.
and then I will kind of put it back in your pocket. I don't want to lose sight of that. So I
Okay.
just want to make sure that you still had that, because that's something that we do need to figure out still yet.
Okay.
But I'm no longer on that committee, so I'm not at those meetings.
Well, send me the information.
Okay.
We'll
thank you.
welcome it on the committee.
Okay.
Thank you for that. Are there any ad hoc reports? None?
Madam President, do you guys want to meet? I do attend the school board meetings. Do you want the updates?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Rain check. I didn't bring any notes.
Please stand by.
I did not bring any notes, but I will definitely make sure that I include that.
Perfect. Thank
Madam
you.
President,
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Ms. Dukestein,
Yes,
I
ma'am.
was not able to attend the CIC. And I know Ms. Blythe mentioned that she was not there. Can you give a brief report if you don't mind?
I can. The CIC, and it's going to be off the top of my head, but they did some really good things. They talked about, they had a group there, and forgive me, but I do not remember the group's name, but they were a development group to kind of help us and guide us and work with all of our existing teams, our city administrator.
Is it when?
Yes, I was just getting ready to ask Miss Iki if she could remember the name, but the WIN group, and I was really impressed with the information that they brought, because they work for, or will be able to help us work in a couple of different ways. So they help do a lot of fundraising and outside sources to make sure that they put valuable homes, which we need. We need more robust housing in North College Hill, and they bring the price down to make it more affordable to the neighborhood that we live in and serve. So there was a various different ways without complication. I won't get into that, how they can make that happen. That was the lion's share of our meeting, and I would encourage everybody to kind of get on that bandwagon, or at least understand more about what they're doing. There are going to be more subsequent meetings past that, where they are going to just start talking about meetings and ways to help serve us. So just to make sure you know, it is like taking some of the vacant properties or maybe existing properties and upgrading them, both and, so that we can just start beautifying and making sure that we have adequate housing. Did I miss anything, Miss Iki? Because I know you were there as well, and it was a pretty robust presentation that was very, very good.
Madam President,
Ms. Alexander?
Ms. Dukestein, when are those meetings and where are they held?
So there's going to be some further conversations with CIC
Okay.
to kind of start how they want to see WIN help us, and then we'll kind of move forward from there.
Okay.
So I know that CIC will keep us abreast of those talks. So we're in the talking stages, but I definitely know our community can benefit from the program.
Madam President,
Ms. Iki?
the CIC typically meets the third Thursday of the month at 6:30 in these chambers.
I have a follow-up question. So this, are you saying WIN, W-I-N, WIN Group? And is there is this like a contractor that needs to be hired by the city, or how are they funded?
WIN stands for Working in Neighborhoods, and so they are a nonprofit organization that does do development primarily in Cincinnati. They started there many years ago. They come into communities where they are invited, which is what the CIC has done with their outreach. Their focus is on housing, and so we are just at the beginning stages of exploring what a partnership would look like with them. So more to come on that, as Ms. Dukestein said, but this was just an initial meeting.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Excuse me. Next up, we have administrative reports. Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. President. I was going to talk about the WIN group, but I decided Ms. Dukestein was there, and I didn't want to try to remember everything from the conversation that I had, so thank you for giving that report. And then Ms. Iki gave the time and date for the next CIC meeting, which all fell into line with that. So I would like to say car show was amazing yesterday. Thanks to everyone who played a part in that. It was hot, very hot. Thank you, Ms. Abrams, for coming. That was a lot of information, so I was over here pecking, reading right along with you. That was some great information, and I'm sure will benefit many, many people. I had another, but I'll wait because we have other people, and I needed to get some more information on a couple of things that might be taking place this September. But I was waiting on a phone call, and they actually called while we were here, and I couldn't pick up. So I'll just leave it there with that. Oh, I did have a couple of things. Ms. Bruner, you had at one of your meetings, you got an email about some grants, or in a meeting you ran, they were telling you about some grants. Do you recall?
I don't remember receiving an email.
Or you went to a meeting or a training or something you were in, and they told you, I can talk to you afterwards.
Okay.
And Miss
Okay.
Underwood, I did take a trip to College Hill. I'm just going to say it, I'm not a fan. Maybe I need to see the finished project, but in my mind, it's one lane, then it's a break off, and in my head, all I saw was people zooming around trying to get around you. But I guess it's the beginning stages, and it is traffic calming. Just like, I don't know, and I hate to say it, but when I go through Mount Healthy, I'm like, because it's so slow, you take so long, and you see the people turning down the alleys to try to cut, and that's just a fear that I have. But we do need something. I know we discussed, I had another conversation with Ms. Long about what they've done. So it'll be a little costly for us to do the speed humps at that magnitude. But I do agree, we do need something right here when you're coming into North College Hill from College Hill. And it's a long stretch. I thought it was going to end, but I said, no, they took it the entire route. So I do know that those blocks that they use, I've seen them moved. So I saw over here one had the stakes in the ground, and then they just had. I've seen those blocks be removed. So I don't know if that's a route that we would want to go, but I would encourage council that if that is something that you want to see, we need to talk to our engineers, and it's probably going to be a little costly. So. That's all I have.
Next up, thank you, Madam Mayor. Next up, we have the City Administrator.
Couple of quick items for tonight. We are still in the middle of our state audit for 21 and 22. I know, and I appreciate your all responsiveness in getting me the documents as they have requested them for some of the various trainings and stuff that you guys go to throughout the course of your term, so I appreciate that. They had expected to be done September 1st, but we're not quite there yet. So I think it'll be probably closer to the end of the month at this point. I also want to mention the Planning Commission meeting is tomorrow at 4:45 in these chambers. The consultants doing the master plan, Urban Fast Forward, will be here doing a short presentation on sort of the final draft before Planning Commission, and then they will take some time to look at that and make some recommendations either on plan changes or some things maybe that we wanted to see incorporated into the plan before it gets to council. But if you are interested, tomorrow, 4:45, right here. And also, I'd like to echo the mayor's thanks for the car show. It certainly was wonderful to see everyone out, even though the weather was beautiful, but beautifully hot. But many thanks to all of the volunteers, the staff, Public Works, Recreation, you all that I saw there. I don't think we could probably count up the number of hours that people spent putting this together. And I think we're all very grateful for that. So with that, I am finished.
I have a follow-up question. Do we have a total tally of how many cars we had? Last I heard, it was like a high 130s.
I heard 140.
143.
I heard
It was
143.
143.
Nice. Thank you.
I imagine we will have the full report at next week's
September.
meeting for community development.
September 11.
Awesome. Thank you for your report. Next, we have the law director.
I have no report this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. The finance director is not here. Next, we have call of members.
Actually, Madam President, oh, never mind, I'm jumping the gun. Sorry.
Can we have call of members?
Yeah.
All right. Ms. Dukestein.
So I thought the car show was phenomenal. I brought my kids and my son, who we have to visit car shows around the city because he thinks that I'm going to buy him an old school car, which is not going to happen. But so he was literally walking around asking about pricing, and I'm just walking ahead like I don't even see it. But I will tell you, because we do visit car shows a lot, that was one of the best ones I've seen in a long time. And I'm not going to name any names or call out any neighbors, but our car show kicked butt. So I was really excited to see it. And there were some really, really nice cars. So thank you to everyone who did, if you're listening out there, to bring their cars. They were a joy to see. And I was pretty proud of NCH for what we put out. And with that, I want to give a special thanks to the support staff who helped put that together. But DAV is a partner with North College Hill that consistently delivers for us, no matter how small or large our events are. Where they're there for the kids or for the adults or the community, they come out and they kick in a lot of volunteer dollars and food and service for us, and it always adds a nice, sweet layer for us, and I just want to thank them. And then College Hill and the, I don't know if they're bike lanes or not, but I've been down there, and I'm going to jump on the piggyback with Mayor. I have to see the finished product because it is very frustrating, and to date, I do not see a benefit other than frustration. People are also frustrated. I've seen cars pulling off and trying to navigate around the, the lanes. I'm not convinced that we need to do that, but I also think that people will veer down our side streets where our kids are riding bikes, walkers, dog people. I'm not unconvinced. I just have to see the finished product, but I want to keep in mind to kind of watch and I spy what other communities are doing. We do need to do something because people think that our stretch of North College Hill is Indy 500, and it's a problem. But I'm not sure what the answers are as we continue to, kind of watch what other people are doing. Maybe we can think of creatively something that's not going to cost us a fortune and frustrate the entirety of everyone who travels Hamilton Avenue. So that's just my 2 cents on that. And that is all.
Thank you, Ms. Dukestein. Ms. Dewald?
Thank you, Madam President. I, too, thought that our car show was ridiculously successful. We've had them in the past, but I think this is the most cars we've ever had. I had an opportunity to volunteer. I was there from 8 to 3. I got to be a judge. It was so much fun. And the DAV, we couldn't have done it without them. That line was lined up and people waited. They waited for those burgers and hot dogs. But I did want to say one thing with Labor Day being behind us, and I had a conversation with Miss Peggy, who's in our audience tonight. She was talking about some dates that were coming up. September 5th is a national recognition for those service members who are at POW or MIA. Since the National Recognition Day last year, 5 more Vietnam veterans have been accounted for. So we're still getting them home. Also, September 24th is Gold Star Mothers and Family Day. As you gather during these national observances, please remember and honor the ultimate sacrifices of our nation's Gold Star families. Those Vietnam veterans who were imprisoned and returned, and those Vietnam War families still waiting for the word of their loved ones. Sorry. I'm finished.
Thank you, Ms. T-Ball. Ms. Underwood?
Thank you, Madam President. I first would like to say congratulations to Mr. Hedger. I know that you are going to be a great dad, and I know this because I hear that you're great with kids. So congratulations on having your first child, and enjoy it and take lots of pictures, and remember, this is fun.
Until they're teenagers.
Also, my husband and I did go to the car show, and we walked up and down that, in which I was surprised that I was able to do it, but we actually walked the entirety up and down the street, and the cars were amazing to look at. And of course, he tried to stop, and he was admiring some of the cars, and I was just I'm like, Ms. Dukestein, like, no. So, but it was super, super impressive. So I'd just like to say I was really impressed with that, the car show. And also just thank you so much to DAV. They do a lot for our city. And I saw the volunteer T-shirts and everything, so that was really wonderful as well. Thank you to Representative Abrams for coming to our meeting and speaking to us about what's going on. I don't know if any of you are aware, I love that kind of thing, like love paying attention to who our representatives are, who our senators are. I love that kind of thing. So I really appreciate her being here and the time that she took out to kind of give us a brief update of what's going on at our State House. Also, just about the traffic, the traffic calming. I get tickled because it's doing exactly what it's supposed to do, which I understand it's frustrating, but it took so long to get down through there. And I was just like, in my heart, I was like, yay! Because it was just traffic. It slowed down to a crawl, and to me, that's what it's supposed to do. And I get it. It's frustrating. You're trying to get where you're going, but I was just like, nobody is flying down through here, because there was just, and it was awkward, and maybe that's not the best fit for us, but something needs to happen. I'm still a fan of what's going on Reading Road with, the bigger speed humps, because that slows things down as well. But something, we need to just do something. So with that, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. The one thing that I want to say about the traffic is I do understand it is doing its purpose. It is traffic calming, it's not driver calming. And that's kind of where the discrepancy is. But what my biggest fear is now is there is a slowdown in Mount Healthy and there is a slowdown in College Hill. And I have a feeling that it's just going to really increase the speeds because people are going to want to make up time. And now we are going to be the Indy 500. So I think whatever we're going to do, we need to do it very soon. I almost wish College Hill had reached out to us to let us know that they were going to put something like this in place so that we could have been on board with them and just made it a constant slowdown instead of the gap that now exists. But as a council and as administration, I think we need to get this, whatever we're going to do, we need to put something in play and we need to do it quick. That's my opinion. Also, I would like to thank Ms. Abrams. I genuinely appreciate hearing what's going on up north. We don't always get to hear that down south. So thank you. I appreciate that update. And the car show was amazing. And my little added details to the DAV, they were they were grilling that food, and then they only charged $1 for a hamburger, $1 for a hot dog. Pops were 50 cents, and water was free.
Water was free.
I mean, what a contribution to our city. That's awesome.
Consistent
Yeah.
contribution.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's all I have. Ms. Alexander.
Okay, I would like to thank Representative Abrams. It's amazing that you took the time to come down to, I feel like, our little city. You don't see that a lot from, your state representative, so I really appreciate it. Every time you show up to an event of ours, it's always, okay, there's Representative Abrams here. I feel like, there's a connection, and you bring so much informative information. And also, Mr. Hedger, congratulations. I'm so happy for you. Like I said, I know you guys are going to be amazing parents, and I don't know, you're so artsy and crafty. I just saw you that day at Michael's, and you had all that stuff in your basket, so I know this is going to be just like, the baby room is going to be amazing, I know. Also, the car show was amazing. It was warm, but, I'm not going to complain. And I'd like to thank everyone that had a part of it. And I was amazed at $1 hot dogs and $1 hamburgers and free water. Nobody even gives water away free anymore. You can't even get air for free. So that was awesome. Also, I just wanted to let people know about 2 programs that I found out about and signed up for. There is a program called the ACE Grant, and it benefits children 6 to 18, and it helps pay for their tutoring, museum memberships, any type of educational trips, camps, theater, and they give you $1,000 a year. And if you don't use
$1,000 for last year, $500 for every subsequent year.
Oh, well, let me tell you, I got $1,000 for last year, and I got $1,000 this year. It rolled over, so now even if you don't use it, it rolls over, and you can use it for family memberships, to museums, COSI. They have a whole listing on their website. You just have to go and look up the ACE Grant. Also,
25? Did you say up to 25?
Not up to 25, I'm sorry. 6 to 18. And also the Save the Dream. Now, currently, they're only helping people who are behind in their mortgages, and they have rent opportunities and utilities. Prior to that, you didn't even have to be behind in your mortgages, and they would pay up to 6 months of your mortgage. But like I said, currently, the funds for those who were current are exhausted. But if you know anyone who was behind on their mortgage, there's still monies available. And it's a really easy process. Even the guidelines aren't what you would think, you know, you only can make $30,000 a year. No, they have some large guidelines where, you know, people who are employed, two-family, you know, households with, you know, children can still qualify, and it's to save the dream. And they're out there, so I encourage anybody to who needs that type of help or assistance with the Save the Dream or the ACE grant to look those up. When you know better, you do better.
Madam President,
Ms. Dukestein?
I'd just like to add, with the ACE program, there is not an income limit. You might think that it's driven by income, but it's not. And my daughter plays the viola because of it. So,
See?
Good deal. Thank you. Thank you for your talent.
That's all I have.
Ms. Blythe?
No comment, thank you.
Ms. Bruner?
Well, Labor Day was beautiful. The skies were blue and the weather was perfect. It was beautiful. And thanks to all the sponsors that donated to door prizes, you will be recognized. And congratulations, Christian. And Tracy, Madam Mayor, I did find that email. And coincidentally, it was June the 23rd at Crimmers, and Miss Abrams was there. It was a Chamber of Commerce meeting.
Okay.
That's what those grants were talking about. So I did find it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so that's it.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Next up, we have executive session.
Madam President.
Ms. Underwood?
Okay, pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 121.22, I move that council enter executive session under Section G1 to, to discuss with the public body's attorney concerning pending or imminent court action by Division G3 of Section 121.22 of the Ohio Revised Code.
Madam President,
Ms. Stewart?
I'll second that.
Do I have to repeat all that?
What did you say?
Do I have to repeat all of that?
No.
Perfect. I have a motion on the floor to go into executive session per all the parameters stated by Ms. Underwood, and a second by Ms. Dewald. Mr. Hedger, could you please call the roll?
Ms. Dukestein,
yes.
Ms. DeWald,
Yes.
Ms. Underwood,
Yes.
Ms. Dorr,
Yes.
Ms. Alexander,
Yes.
Ms. Blythe,
Yes.
Ms. Brunner.
Yes.
Motion passed, 7-0.
Thank you. It is, I'm sorry, I forgot to check. Are you good? Thank you. It's 8:41, and we will reconvene from executive session. And it looks like we are now at remarks from the audience. Mr. Hedger, do we have anyone signed in?
Thank you, Madam President. First, we have a Peggy Albert.
Please state your name, your address, and please limit your comments to 5 minutes.
Oh, I don't want you to trip and
Well,
fall.
thank you.
Here, just
Yeah.
step up just a second. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, that's, is it, oh. Thank you, yeah, I don't need a fall. My name's Peg Albert, and my address is 3330 Alexis Road in Coleraine Township. But the reason I'm here is because our Ladies American Legion post is here in the building. And one of the gals said, you know, you really should let City Council know some of the things we're doing. So one of the things that we've done is we sponsored a young lady from the North College Hill High School class of 2024 to attend Buckeye Girls State, and that was back in June. And this year, it was held at Bowling Green University. So the girls had an opportunity to be on a real live, college campus. And I think from what I hear, they really enjoyed that. Buckeye Girls State's actually a program of the Ohio American Legion Auxiliary. And usually the Legion sponsors the young men to go to Boys State, but since we're all gals, we thought, well, we're sending gals to Girls State. But the purpose of Girls State is to educate young women in the duties, privileges, rights, and responsibilities of good citizenship. The program is a week long, and all the attendees are called delegates, and they learn about local, county, and state government. They divide the delegates into cities, and then each city, has a city council, and to support the cities, they need businesses. So from what I understand, they divide the girls up by rooms. So the roommates will create a business, and then they learn how to create a budget, and this is how they fund their city. They actually have elections for all of the different levels, city, county, and state government. All the delegates, they actually divide them into two different parties when they get there. And when they have the elections, they divide into their, different parties, and they come up with party platforms, they run campaigns, and then they actually hold elections. They always tell us, tell the girls, this is not just a fun camp. This is work. The kids are up from probably before 7 in the morning to get ready for, flag raising and breakfast, and then they probably don't get to bed till like 11. So they're busy the whole time. They have, kind of training classes. Somebody from government will come in and say, this is what we do. And, but they do have, some fun time as well. And I've heard that they actually have, positions for a dog catcher, since that's part of a city. And they actually do have police, and the girls will get fines if, for different really, really crazy things. But they learn, this is, what happens with government. So we're hoping that for 2024, we will be able to send another young gal from North College Hill High School.
Oh, wow.
So, because we figured these kids are our future, and we need to teach them, what government really is all about. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Miss Peggy.
Yes.
I'm curious if, I probably don't want you to say it in the public space here, but could we get the name of the individual that you sponsored? Because
Yes,
they might be interested
tell
in
you. Sure.
getting involved in what we're doing here, if they liked it.
I can ask, but I'll let you know. Hopefully, there is going to be an article in the Inquirer. I did submit an article about it, just to let people know, that, girls from this area do go to Girls State. So I can let you know. She's kind of shy. Usually we ask them to come and give us a little summary of their week, but she's really, really shy. So I met her and her mom, and we went out for lunch, and, she filled me in.
Okay.
But it's a good thing for the girls to learn.
Yeah, that sounds incredible. That's awesome.
And
Thank
Ms.
you.
Albert,
Yes.
did all of you and the ladies serve in the armed forces?
Oh, yes. If you're
Thank you
American,
for your service.
if you're part of the American Legion, you have to have served at least one day of active duty.
Yes.
And the Legion did change things a couple of years ago that previously, if you had not served during a time of conflict, you could not be a part of the American Legion. And they finally changed that, which is true, because basically circumstances just prevented you. If you had been called, you would have gone.
Right.
So it's a good thing that that did
They
change.
changed that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for your service.
Welcome.
Thank
Yes,
you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Mr.
Madam President, we have a Sandy Ficker next.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sandy Ficker. I live at 6790 Richard Avenue. I have a question, more of a, whatever, but I don't know how to start it, but I have a situation with my neighbor, and Doug Eikens has done his best to help me. He's been very helpful. He's approached this person with a situation, but she has a floodlight in her backyard. And the floodlight, one goes this way in my backyard. And I was wondering, he told me that there were no ordinances about having a floodlight shining in your neighbor's yard. I was wondering if there is a way that I could start an ordinance. To me, I think this is a nuisance. I do not want a floodlight in my backyard. It brights up my whole backyard.
Sure.
My neighbor has a floodlight. It's on his garage, but it goes in his yard. Is there any way that I can, I'll be honest with you, I'm a coward. She's very frightening. She's mean, but, and I've asked her nicely for several other situations, and she's always said, no, I know it sounds childish. But is there any way to propose an ordinance? Because I'm sure I'm not the only one in the city of North College Hill that has this type of interference. It's like a dog barking. I'm sure there are ordinances for dog barking. But is there any way that I can propose this? I have pictures. I have tons of them.
Ms. Vicker,
Yes.
I too have spotlights that shine into my windows. We've got to keep everything closed. It's broad daylight in our
I
house.
have double
But
curtains.
if we do create a legislation
Yeah.
that says no spotlights, they're going to be grandfathered in because we won't be able, isn't that correct, Mr. Dieters? We wouldn't be able to
Probably.
make them take it down.
No, I want them grandfathered in.
No, that means they can't take, they don't have to take them down.
Oh, no.
Because they put it
no.
up before the law was made.
Is there any way that I could get some assistance with this? Doug has been wonderful, and I wanted to compliment him on that.
Right.
He's been very helpful. But short of going over there, I was trying to get up the courage to go over
Exactly.
before I got here. I'm not a, yeah, she's intimidating. I'll put it that way. I don't want to cause any more conflict. I'm not a confrontational person.
Right.
I'm tired of the light in my backyard. I can't sit leisurely on my deck.
Can we meet later on? Can I maybe contact you tomorrow?
You can contact me anytime.
Right.
I'm retired.
Madam
I'm
President.
Ms. Vicker, can I just chime in real quick? I mean, our legal counsel is in the room. Do you see any possibility of
Nuisance.
anything like this occurring? Is it, it sounds
Not
like
that
a
the
stretch
city
to me,
could
so
do.
I,
A individual property owner could file a nuisance action against their other property owner in court, but it's nothing that the city, I think, could do. It'd be a private action.
She's also constructed a fence, which after she put the fence up, by chance, I had a surveyor. He was doing work down at the dead end part of Richard, and he was walking just to get a perspective of the street. I asked him to survey my property. She is on my property. The fence is on my property. I
So
think
do you
that-
have the documentation?
I have the flags, the points, everything's still up.
No.
I mean, the flag's gone because she keeps knocking it down. But that was not my, part of it was my purpose, because I lived there since '86 and I've never had my property surveyed. And I thought it would be good to have it. Who knows, I might die, you know, I might move. Is there anything with Ohio laws?
It's an individual property issue between two property owners, unfortunately.
I don't know.
Even
Madam
if the
President.
fences, as long, if there was a
Sorry?
permit for the fence, I don't know if there was a permit or not, but you'd have to check.
Okay. Well. Okay, well, I appreciate you listening to me.
Madam President,
Oh,
I'm sorry, I didn't
Sorry.
hear you. Ms. Bly?
can you tell me, I'm trying to figure out, my backyard is 45 feet wide. My security light only spans my backyard. Do you approximately know the width of your backyard and the width of her backyard? Is this sucker just going 90 or 100 feet? I'm trying to understand that.
can I show you a picture?
Yes.
How it is?
Yes.
I can even show you pictures on my phone.
directly to her instead of like down, how your
Two of them keep in the garage. One of them points down at a car, the other one points this way.
Yeah, so
And this is what I deal with at night. I didn't want to waste too much ink, my printer.
Is this your house or her house?
That's her garage.
Oh, okay.
These are my bushes, this is the thing on my deck,
Mm-hmm.
and it's coming this way. Let me get myself.
She's shining her, she's shining her light in her
over there.
backyard.
And I don't want the light, I have my own floodlight.
Yeah, I have a floodlight in my backyard, but
I take it her light is not motion sensor? I take it her light
was
is not
another
motion
question.
sensor?
Oh, it is.
I want to see the dogs.
It is.
Ours like 200 feet long
Eight-ish
and
before
like
you
300
get
feet
dark.
wide. I want
And
to see
then
the
when you
dog.
go out there, it's brighter.
Oh, so it's
Okay.
like a dusk, so it comes on. It
sounds
does.
like
It's
she's,
very
it's,
Brightens up even lighter when it
sounds like
moves.
she's directing it
Why
at
would
your
they be
yard,
separated?
because I have a floodlight and my floodlight just shines on my backyard.
He knows I can't
It
see him
doesn't
without
make
telling him.
sense.
My little
See that?
Yes, sure.
Bedroom window.
You should only shine the floodlight on your own backyard. It doesn't sound.
6,000 floodlight.
Weird.
Oh, wow.
I know.
As somebody who has
The
a
5 minutes
floodlight on
are up,
Yeah.
Ms. Vicker. I
Thank
apologize.
you, thank you.
We'll,
No, I
we can look
appreciate
into
for
this
showing that.
after
Thank
the
you.
meeting.
But you don't have yours shining.
That's what
When
I'm
it comes
thinking.
on, I think
All
it
right,
does.
next on our agenda, we have legislation. Mr. Hedger.
I got floodlights.
Resolution number 17, 2023, a resolution to certify assessments to the county auditor for placement on the tax duplicate and declaring an emergency.
Madam President,
Ms. Dewald?
I'd like to make a motion to suspend the third reading. The residents have already been noticed multiple times that this money is due. This just gets it into our budget quicker. And I don't see any reason why we need to hold on to these for 3 readings. But I make that motion.
Madam President, I don't want to sit here all night. I will second that motion.
Thank you.
A discussion? I have one point of clarification. Ms. Dewald stated that this gets the money into our budget sooner. Ms. Icky, is that the case? I thought that we would just get this money whenever taxes are paid again the next time.
These are assessments that are placed on the tax rolls from yards that we've had to cut over the summer. And so we have a deadline with the county to have any assessments that we want done for this year. They have to be into the county by September 30th. So because we've already done the work, we've already paid the contractor, so we would like to try and recoup our money. I think as a matter of, I appreciate trying to get it done sooner, and I do have a comment on a later one, just because of the timing issue. If you pass this at your next regularly scheduled council meeting in 2 weeks, we will still meet the county's deadline. There is one assessment, though, the one, 21, 23, which is the first reading. We will need to suspend that at the next meeting for the vote so that these can all be placed on the tax rolls before the deadline. What I would ask of you to consider is that these assessments are routine, right? We have people who do not cut their grass. We send somebody out to do it 3, 4, 5, 6 times in a summer. And so because we're going to take care of the yards and we're going to do this, and we know that we have these repeat offenders every year, some different houses, it's not always the same people every year, but it would be great to do these in one readings going forward, kind of like buying salt. We know we're going to buy salt on the state contract every year. I don't know why we do 3 readings. I understand it's the process and the procedure, but there are a handful of items that we could do a little more expeditiously that would save reading these over 3 meetings. When we get into the summer months, especially with things like this where we have an early fall deadline, you know, we would have had to start this process even earlier to do all 3 readings and not get it into September. And part of the problem there is we know we're going to cut grass. We know we're going to have assessments. We do this every single year. The money's been spent by the city. So we do want to make sure we recoup our costs for those folks. And when they pay their tax bill next year, that's when it starts coming back to us. So it is a process no matter how you look at it. But I think for some of these things that become routine, we could look at doing this a little more streamlined.
Madam President, can I jump in on that? The reason why you do 3 readings typically when you're doing ordinance is so that if someone in the public wants to object before you do it, they have the opportunity to come and object. And some of these things I would agree with the city administrator that are kind of ministerial in nature. They're just taking care of business, like buying salt or those kind of things that aren't going to affect. I mean, the only people this is going to affect are the people that didn't cut their grass to begin with, who owe us money. So I doubt that anybody else is going to come from the city and object to you assessing someone that you cut their grass. So I do think it might make it would probably make this person's life a lot easier, but it might make your lives a lot easier too, that if you look at these things that are more like just business action things of not doing 3 readings. Now I understand like approving big contracts, changing, you know, ordinances that affect like the general public, those kind of things, certainly you would do 3, but I do think sometimes we unnecessarily do 3 readings on things that are just sort of run-of-the-mill. Every year we got to do this kind of thing. So just it's up to you, but that would be my advice. I would mimic what Jennifer's saying.
Thank you both for your input. Any other discussion? All right. I have on the floor a motion to suspend the 3rd reading from Ms. Dewald and a second from Ms. Underwood. Mr. Hedger, could you please take the roll?
Ms. Dukestein.
Yes.
Mr. Wall.
Yes.
Ms. Underwood.
Yes.
Ms. Zorb.
Yes.
Ms. Alexander.
Yes.
Ms. Blythe.
Yes.
Ms. Brunner.
Yes.
Motion passed, 7-0.
Madam President,
Ms. Dewald.
I move to adopt resolution number 17, 2023.
Madam President,
Ms. Underwood.
I'll second that.
Discussion? See, I remembered. I have a motion on the floor to adopt Resolution 17, 2023. Motion was placed by Ms. Dewald and seconded by Ms. Underwood. Mr. Hedger, could you please call the roll?
Ms. Dukestein.
Yes.
Mr. Wall.
Yes.
Ms. Underwood.
Yes.
Ms. Zorb.
Yes.
Ms. Alexander.
Yes.
Ms. Blythe.
Yes.
Ms. Brunner.
Yes.
Motion passed, 7-0. Second reading, resolution number 18, 2023, a resolution to certify assessments to the county audit for placement on the tax duplicate and declaring an emergency.
Madam President,
Ms. Dewald.
I move to suspend the 3rd reading.
Madam President,
Ms. Underwood.
I'll second that.
Discussion? I have a motion on the floor by Ms. Dewald and a second by Ms. Underwood to suspend the third reading of Resolution 18, 2023. Mr. Hedger, please call the roll.
Ms. Dukestein?
Yes.
Ms. DeWald?
Yes.
Ms. Underwood?
Yes.
Ms. Zorb?
Yes.
Ms. Alexander?
Yes.
Ms. Blythe?
Yes.
Ms. Brunner?
Yes.
Motion passed 7-0.
Madam President,
Ms. Stewart.
I move to adopt Resolution Number 18, 2023.
Madam President, I'll second.
I have a motion on the floor from Ms. Dewald and a second from Ms. Underwood to adopt Resolution 18, 2023. Mr. Hedger, please call the roll.
Ms. Dukestein?
Yes.
Ms. DeWald?
Yes.
Ms. Underwood?
Yes.
Ms. Zorb?
Yes.
Ms. Alexander?
Yes.
Ms. Blythe?
Yes.
Ms. Brunner?
Yes.
Motion passed 7-0. Second reading, Resolution Number 19, 2023, a resolution to certify assessments to the county auditor for placement on the tax duplicate and declare an emergency.
Madam President,
Ms. Dewald.
I move to suspend third reading.
Madam President,
Ms. Underwood.
I second that motion.
I have a motion from Ms. Dewald and a second from Ms. Underwood to suspend the third reading for Resolution 19, 2023. Mr. Hedger, please call the roll.
Ms. Dukestein?
Yes.
Ms. DeWald?
Yes.
Ms. Underwood?
Yes.
Ms. Zorb?
Yes.
Ms. Alexander?
Yes.
Ms. Blythe?
Yes.
Ms. Brunner?
Yes.
Motion passed 7-0.
Madam President,
Ms. Dewald.
I move to adopt Resolution 19, 2023.
Madam President,
Ms. Underwood.
I'll second that.
I have a motion on the floor from Ms. Dewald and a second from Ms. Underwood to adopt Resolution 19, 2023. Please call the roll.
Ms. Dukestein?
Yes.
Ms. DeWald?
Yes.
Ms. Underwood?
Yes.
Ms. Zorb?
Yes.
Ms. Alexander?
Yes.
Ms. Blythe?
Yes.
Ms. Brunner?
Yes.
Motion passed 7-0. Second reading, Resolution Number 20, 2023, a resolution to certify assessments to the county auditor for placement on the tax duplicate and declaring an emergency.
Madam President,
You're faster than I can write.
I'm sorry.
Second that.
Ms. Dewald.
I move to suspend the third reading on Resolution Number 20, 23.
Don't
Madam
switch.
President,
Ms. Underwood.
I'll second that.
Discussion. I have a motion on the floor from Ms. Dewald and a second from Ms. Underwood to suspend the third reading for Resolution 20, 2023. Please call the roll.
Ms. Dukestein?
Yes.
Ms. DeWald?
Yes.
Ms. Underwood?
Yes.
Ms. Zorb?
Yes.
Ms. Alexander?
Yes.
Ms. Blythe?
Yes.
Ms. Brunner?
Yes.
Motion passed 7-0.
Madam President, oh, I'll wait till your pen is finished.
You're good. I'm there.
And go.
Sorry, Ms. Dewald.
Madam President, I move to adopt Resolution Number 20, 23.
Already wrote your initials, come on.
Oh. Madam President, I'll second that.
Trying to get ahead of the game here.
I know.
I have a motion on the floor from Ms. Dewald and a second from Ms. Underwood to adopt Resolution 20, 2023.
It's like a,
Please call the roll.
Ms. Dukestein?
Yes.
Ms. DeWald?
Yes.
Ms. Underwood?
yes.
Ms. Zorb?
Yes.
Ms. Alexander?
Yes.
Ms. Blythe?
Yes.
Ms. Brunner?
Yes.
Motion passed 7-0. Second reading resolution number 20, second reading resolution, first reading resolution number 21, 2023, a resolution to certify assessments to the county auditor for placement on the tax duplicate and declaring an emergency.
Madam President, I'll speak slowly.
Ms. Dewald.
I move to suspend second and third reading on resolution number 21, 2023.
Madam President,
Ms. Underwood,
I'll second that.
So much fun.
discussion? I have a motion on the floor from Ms. Dewald and a second from Ms. Underwood to suspend the second and third reading of Resolution 21, 2023. Please call the roll.
Ms. Dukestein,
Yes.
Ms. DeWald,
Yes.
Ms. Underwood,
Yes.
Ms. Zorb,
Yes.
Ms. Alexander.
Yes.
Ms. Bly,
Yes.
Ms. Brunner.
Yes.
Motion passed 7-0.
Madam President, I move to adopt resolution 21, 2023.
Madam President, I will second that.
Thank you. I have a motion on the floor from Ms. Dewald and a second from Ms. Underwood to adopt Resolution 21, 2023. Please call the roll.
Ms. Dukestein,
Yes.
Ms. DeWald,
Yes.
Ms. Underwood,
Yes.
Ms. Zorb,
Yes.
Ms. Alexander.
Yes.
Ms. Bly,
Yes.
Ms. Brunner.
Yes.
Motion passed 7-0. First reading, resolution number 2022-2023, a resolution to authorize the city administrator to execute a collective bargaining agreement between the city of North College Hill and the Fraternal Order of Police, Ohio Labor Council Incorporated. Madam President, would you like me to continue?
Yes, please.
Second reading, ordinance number 10, 2023, an ordinance assessing costs of removal of certain real property by demolition of the same and declaring an emergency.
Madam President,
Ms. Dewald.
I'd like to suspend the third reading on that. 10, ordinance 10, 2023.
Madam President,
Ms. Underwood.
second that.
There it is.
Any discussion? I have a motion on the floor from Ms. Dewald and a second from Ms. Underwood to suspend the third reading of Ordinance 10, 2023. Please call the roll.
Ms. Dukestein,
Yes.
Ms. DeWald,
Yes.
Ms. Underwood,
Yes.
Ms. Zorb,
Yes.
Ms. Alexander,
Yes.
Ms. Bly,
Yes.
Ms. Brunner.
Yes.
Motion passed 7-0.
Madam President,
Ms. Dewald.
I move to adopt resolution, ordinance 10, 2023.
Madam President,
Ms. Underwood.
I'll second that.
I have a motion on the floor from Ms. Dewald and a second from Ms. Underwood to adopt Ordinance 10, 2023. Mr. Hedger, please call the roll.
Ms. Dukestein,
Yes.
Ms. DeWald,
Yes.
Ms. Underwood,
Yes.
Ms. Zorb,
Yes.
Ms. Alexander,
Yes.
Ms. Bly,
Yes.
Ms. Brunner.
Yes.
Motion passed 7-0.
At this time, we have further remarks from the audience as it pertains to legislation. And we'll move on to old business.
Madam President,
Ms. Dukestein.
on Resolution 22, 2023, I just want to make sure you didn't ask for discussion because I guess it was the first reading. But when we had talked about in Budget and Finance was the police chief coming to Ms. Underwood's committee to give us any kind of obvious changes in the FOP agreement. And I wasn't present, so I just wanted to make sure we did that. And if we did not, to just kind of maybe freely invite him to come out to one of the other committees before we have to meet again.
Madam President,
Ms. Underwood.
he did it.
Okay, and we didn't have any major changes.
No.
Madam President,
Ms. DeWald.
that I could tell the changes that were made were either a strike-through or it wasn't obliterated, but you could see where changes had been made, and there aren't that many.
Okay, fair enough.
Second call for old business. New business?
Madam President,
Ms. Dewald?
I move to adjourn.
Madam President,
Ms. Underwood?
I'll second that.
I have a motion on the floor from Ms. Dewald and a second from Ms. Underwood to adjourn tonight's meeting. Please call the roll, Mr. Hedger.
Ms. Dukestein?
Yes.
Mr. Wong?
Yes.
Ms. Underwood?
Yes.
Ms. Orm?
Yes.
Ms. Alexander?
Yes.
Ms. Blythe?
Yes.
Ms. Brunner?
Yes.
Motion passed, 7-0.
This meeting is adjourned. It's 9:11.